Next up is the big one, right? Wage theft. According to the Economic Policy Institute, wage theft costs U.S. workers $50 billion a year. $50 billion every year is stolen from workers. This can be through minimum wage violations, overtime violations, rest break violations, off the clock violations, and we'll get into these in a minute, right? This number is more than every other type of theft combined. And most years it's more than every other type by a factor of 2 to 4 times, right? And you can see that in the chart. When you combine larceny and burglary and auto theft and robbery, it still doesn't even come close to being it's probably about 50% of just minimum wage violations, right? So wage theft is a huge, probably one of the biggest workers' rights issues, that we face in this country. And on the other side of it, 50 million is stolen, or 50 billion is stolen, but only a small percentage of the money is actually recovered through enforcement action, whether that be, through state government, state, federal, or local agencies, or through, suing with the private attorney. From 2017 to 2020, only 3.24 billion was recovered, right? So every year, 50 billion is stolen, and on average, every year, less than $1 billion is recovered. So we're talking about like a 2% or lower recovery rate when it comes to wage theft. A vast majority of workers experiencing wage theft never file a claim. A lot of that is that they don't know how. They aren't aware of their rights. I have been in many places where experienced, HR people say things that are outright illegal federally. That they encourage workers, especially things like off the clock violations, are really, really normal. Minimum wage violations, tip violations, these are really, really common. And a big part of the reason why is there's not much of a disincentive for these companies to not engage in wage theft, right? Wage theft is often treated more like a civil issue than a criminal one. When your boss commits wage theft, they receive fines. It's kind of taken care of through an administrative process, right? If you, as the worker, took $100 out of the cash register, you're going to be arrested. When $50 billion are stolen from workers every year, no one's arrested, right? Very few of them even have to pay back what they've stolen, and even fewer pay things like fines. And even when they do get a fine, it's a slap on the wrist, right? It's a very, very small fine in comparison to a number like $50 billion that's stolen.